Guten Abend, good afternoon, and welcome to another installment of Tanda Tula's Sofa Safaris with myself, Chad. It has been raining, and it looks as though it's going to carry on raining into this evening. We've had a good 40 mils of rain in the last day and a bit. There's water running down the roads, pooling up everywhere. The Nharhu is flowing, the Mashatin is flowing. Bush is looking incredible still. It's very soggy, so not going to be able to go off-road at all for the next couple of days. But I'm not going to let that stop us from getting out there and seeing what is going on. So come along for the ride. This is no doubt an episode that's going to span a couple of drives. But let's go out there and see what the bush has to offer, because if you're not out there, you're going to miss it. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Hey, I'm wet. I guess that's what happens when you go out in the middle of a day that's forecast to be 90% chance rain throughout the day. It's odd, without having guests, we tend not to subject ourselves to these rainy drives. But it's nice to be out and getting wet again. Hoping that if I'm this uncomfortable, that any cats are not going to be wanting to walk through this luscious long grass and are going to be making their way towards some nice open areas on the roads. But so far, not much. I saw more from my veranda at home than I did on this drive so far. There were elephants and buffalo outside my house. But just going to have a quick look around the old den site for the River Pride. Some baboons up in the sycamore figs. Starting to rain a little bit. These guys are very vocal. Not predator related, domestic dispute related. Out here, a little bit of contact communication. They were really going bonkers earlier. Little baby climbing behind mom there. Oh, not such a little baby, but a younger one. See plenty of fruit growing, plenty of these figs growing on the sycamore fig. One of the reasons they're up there, probably also going to give them quite a bit of cover. Maybe not so much where this one is sitting, but definitely in the middle of the canopy is going to be well protected from the rain, unlike me at the moment. I seem to be getting hit by wave after wave of rain, and I can see another one coming. But in between bouts of rain, I have stumbled upon two of the Naru males, which is great to see. They are here at Jackal's Flay. Although 2 days ago the den site had been moved, or at least the cub had been moved quite far south. So I don't know whether the mom maybe took the cub to a kill and has perhaps returned to this area. But checked in this area because they were reported roaring on Tortillas Plains just south of Mashatin Dam last night. So I thought, let's come and have a look. As we said, in the rain, hoping that they're going to stick to a slightly more open area. At the moment, they've just got themselves tucked in a small guarri bush. Not that it's helping much. You can see from their manes they are soaking wet. Very much like this, I wouldn't really call this a mane, but I know they're feeling very well. So we'll sit with them for a little bit longer and see what happens. And the rain is starting again. Let's see if this spurs these lions into life. So this is how I'm filming at the moment. This is one of our luxurious fleece-lined ponchos that is actually keeping me quite dry. Got my camera poking out on the other side. And just putting up with it. These lions are looking rather miserable. I can completely empathize with them. But yeah, heads are up. We'll see. Hopefully they do decide to come out into the open a little bit later. There we go. This is me and my contraption. Poor Len's hood, hopefully doing its job. But the clouds look gloomy to say the least. A lot of swallows and swifts flying around. Frogs going in the background. It's a pleasurable place to be. A few years ago we would have done anything to be sitting in the rain because it was just so dry. How things have changed, and again this year with the rainfall we've had, this bush is just looking in such magnificent condition. The grass growth, we're looking again now, looking at the types of grass growing, the density of the grass. It's really remarkable to see what this rain has done to this environment. Stunning. What I really want, and I've always wanted this, is to be brave enough to sit in the rain with some lions and then have them shake their mane to get rid of all that water. They're too far away now for photos, but I think it would still look very cool in video. Okay, so one of the boys is up. I don't know if this is a short move or a long move, giving us a bit of a head shake. Just what I wanted, just wanted closer. And is he going to have a poo or is he going to lie down? No, looks like he's going to lie down, and as he does that, the rain is starting yet again. I think he's realized the error of his ways and he's getting up to go and lie under another tiny little guarri bush. Although he has picked the wrong side, he's picked the side from which the rain is coming. And I think because of that he's going to move again. Well, he's gone back to the spot he was earlier. He's very confused, this chap. Hasn't learnt the art of dealing with rain yet. You can see the difference that shaking a mane does. The guy on the left, his mane's already popped out, fluffed out more, whereas the guy on the right who hasn't shaken his mane's looking a little bit flat. Should try to do that with my own hair. Well, if I had hair. Something seems to have caught their attention. Not quite sure what. Very cool. Far away, hasn't got quite the same impact as the lying. Very cool. It's far away, maybe not quite the same impact as if they're lying right next to you, but still awesome to hear again. And in fact, you could hear the third one, the limping male, responding from the other side of the river, so maybe he's going to come this way. A yawn, a head shake, and a bit of a rollover. His mate's getting up. Walking a little gingerly, maybe just from a day of sleeping doing nothing. There we go, that's what we're talking about. Now, come on boys, come close to the road. These close bonds that these lions share and the social nature that they have just sets them apart from the other animals, the other cats, in such a big way. And I haven't actually had a good lion sighting for a couple of weeks now, having been away. So it's really, really lovely to see these boys back together. Don't lie down. Come on. Come to the road. A little bit more increase in activity. The yawning, the grooming, the roaring. Still don't quite know which way they're going to move, but we'll see. Squirrel making an appearance. No, I think he's walked through there. It was definitely him. I could hear him calling, and now he's come to join, but as you can see, that leg is no good. Happy to be reunited. We're going to leave these lions to it. Really good to have lions again, although it wasn't actually the plan to come and see these guys. I wanted to go show you the Western Pride, a pride that has not made any appearances on Surf Safari, because in the 3 years that I've been here they haven't once come into our concession. In fact, I don't know when they last were, if ever, in our concession. They're a pride from the north, consisting of at the moment 5 females and 3 cubs of about 5-6 months old, as well as their 2 males. The 2 males aren't with them. 3 lionesses were found along the Sharalumi in our western section this morning, and there were tracks of the other 2 females and the 3 cubs on the banks of the Mashatan. So they are around, and they're going to give us one more roar. And that's our boy who's wandering on the other side. But yeah, very interesting lion dynamic. Now that these Narus and River Pride members have shifted to the south, they're not leaving a presence in the north, and it hasn't taken long for other lions to fill in there. Exactly why they're moving south, there hasn't been pressure from lions to the north of them. I'm not sure, possibly it's in search of food, but we hope for a while anyway that they stay around, at least long enough for me to be able to film them and show them to you here on Sofa Safaris. But before the next wave of rain comes in, I'm going to be heading off from these guys, and we'll carry on this episode tomorrow. So you can hear from the calls, the brother that got up and left, he's already crossed the river. You'll see these boys get up and follow, but we're not going to make it across there, just too wet, too much clay on the other side. But it's been a very enjoyable sighting of these three. Nice to see the three reunited. Nice to see that reunion of the limping male with his brothers or coalition partners. And good to see that he did actually put a bit of pressure on his foot for a small time of that sighting. So maybe he's on a improvement trend with that foot, because goodness knows it's been a while since he's been walking on it. So I was sitting thinking that those roars of those lions, you know, impressive, but I didn't think they were that good. Just got a radio call from someone who's sitting with the Western Pride females, which are 7.5 kilometers away as the crow flies, asking if I could hear lions roaring. I was like, yeah, I can, they're right in front of us. But those calls that we were hearing were being picked up by human ears 7.5 k's away, and the lions were reacting to it as well. Apparently they didn't get up and run the other way, they actually got up and walked a little closer. So we will be checking up tomorrow to see just how deep into River Pride territory this Western Pride pushes. Maybe not coming down with a great force, but this is actually the front of the water of the Mashatin River coming towards the northern boundary of our property. I think you'd probably need a time lapse to really appreciate just how it is moving, but you can see some of it coming through there. It's been flowing all day. When I went out this morning it was flowing, and then another guide commented that with surprise that he saw it flowing, because when he drove on our northern boundary there was no water. And I've just come into that same crossing and thought, wow, how can it not be flowing? And anyway, there's your answer. It's starting. And you can see some of that foam floating at the front of this river system. This is a very common occurrence. You may have seen it in previous videos that we've posted, and it might look like pollution, but what's happening is that as the air and water are mixing together, it's causing the water tension to break, and you combine this with things called surfactants. Yes, that's the word, surfactants. And what they do is they are compounds that are derived from breaking down organic matter, and this will actually help break that water tension, and then when the water and air mix rapidly, it creates bubbles, and these bubbles are going to pile together and cause the froth that you see at the front of floods. So it's not pollution. There are some pollutants that can cause it, but in a case like this it is a very, very natural phenomenon. But there we go, nice tranquil scene to end the day. I unfortunately didn't have any joy finding the portion of the Western Pride I was hoping to find. Tomorrow has come, but it is way too windy to film. Just in case you think I'm making excuses. Sorry, struggling to keep the camera steady here with all this wind. So the wind is still howling here. It's been going like this since the middle of last night. Saw a bit this morning, I decided to brave it this afternoon. hear me. Just stumbled upon a herd of elephants just outside our camp. They'll probably quite be enjoying this, not fearful of predators, be nice and cool for them. But sure, it has been blowing, gusting. Gales would maybe be a slight exaggeration, but by low-felt standards, Timbavati standards, this has been proper wind. I won't be surprised if we find a few large trees that have been blown over. But the sun is out. First time we've seen it in a few days. So let's head on out there this afternoon and see what else we can find. But spend some time with these ellies first. Very... You can hear some screamings of a calf in the background, but very cute to just see these two youngsters interacting. Looks like the older one is interested in food and the younger one is interested in play. As seems to be the case. The young one's still going to have access to all of mum's milk, so why bother eating this boring grass when you have some nice nutritious milk? That's probably why it's one of the other ones is screaming, because it's not getting milk. Can see the golden thread of a golden orb spider's web on her trunk. Unsurprisingly, when they barge through the bushes, they're not going to care too much about a little spider and pick these things up as little decorations. Just feeding very calmly in this breeze. Well, gale, whatever you want to call it. Far more calm than the general game species are going to be. Everything I've seen today has just turned and run away. It bears repeating. We said after every windy night, but these conditions are not very good if you're a prey species. If you are a predator, it's ideal. Cover your scent, cover your sound. If you're a big animal like an elephant, like a rhino, you've got far less to be nervous about, and they just go about their days enjoying the fact that at least there's no heat. That being said, our entire last couple of weeks of January and first few weeks of Feb have been anything but hot. Everyone thinks that this is the most unbearable and unpleasant time of the year. Definitely not. It's been fantastic conditions this year. And definitely our temperatures barely getting over 30 degrees centigrade, Celsius, whatever you prefer. But let's see, the ears flapping on these elephants at all. It's just great. And if they are flapping, it's the wind blowing them. They're not hot, they're not uncomfortable. Just enjoying life. Idea of how tall this grass is. I mean, it's tickling her belly. That's 1.5 meters up. Hey girl. That's a rarity. My phone's actually working to record a video. Welcome back, iPhone. Now, I don't know how well you're going to see hidden in that tree there, but there is a Varro's eagle owl right in the center of the frame. You might hear grey hornbill and the grey go-away bird shouting at it. It's what drew me to look here into this tree. Looks like a brown ivory, and sure enough, hidden deep within the canopy, you'll see there the half of a Verreaux's eagle owl. Relatively rare sight of a male kudu. Actually a couple of male kudus here on the banks of the Mushattam. I say rare because they haven't featured in a sofa safari for a while. They just disappear in the summer vegetation. It is so thick, it suits them down to a T. But once the bush starts thinning out, we start seeing our kudus more and more often. Hopefully we'll be able to add a few more females and young because it's their calving season now. A couple of impressive boys, even though he's got a broken horn on the left. Excuse the overexposed background here. If I don't do that, it's just going to be a silhouette of a bird, but that is a marabou stork, and a bird I'm not too sure whether or not it's made an appearance on our sofa safari series yet or not. It's not a very common one here, and one that is always worth stopping for. It's part of the ugly five, and if he lifts his head from behind that log, or if I maybe pull forward, you'll see why. It's definitely not the prettiest bird in the world, but what it lacks in looks, it makes up for in impressive size. It is really, really large, massive beak. They are birds that are often associated with scavenging vultures and will be around large carcasses, using that big beak to get into the tough, hard to reach places that sometimes not even the vultures can get to. They'll concentrate around drying pools of water to collect the fish there. There's actually a couple of them sitting in these dead trees here, probably a pair, but not quite sure why. Well, blowing gales, and that's probably going to be bothered to fly, that's why they're sitting here now. But yeah, I'm not sure what would have drawn them into this area. It's not like we have many resident pairs, but yeah, that is the marabou stork. Nice to see some water still flowing along these drainage lines. This is the small Mainbula drainage line that feeds into the Mushattam. Look at the wind in the grass as I drive past here. It's been a couple of days since I filmed the last segment to this video. Been fortunate enough to have guests over the last few days, and always wonderful to have people sitting behind me, far more responsive than looking at myself on camera. But we are going to go out there today and carry on. It was a good few days with the guests, some lovely leopard viewing with Tumbela being found a couple of times. We had Shigodo and Nyaleti on an impala kill, and also got my first view of the River Pride Cup. Unfortunately, we waited and waited and waited, and it only came out just as the sun was setting, so we didn't have very long with it. But it was wonderful to see the little ball of happiness. We are going to try again this morning to see if there's any sign of them, and then just play it by ear to see what we can end off this episode with. So stick around. Hey, that's Luke's line. Just stopped to photograph a beautiful golden orb spider in the sunrise. You might be thinking, beautiful, but quite a nice scene. Anyway, while doing that, a lion has roared probably less than a kilometre over yonder. So let's go find him. And having just walked through the grass to get to my spider, I can tell you it's very unpleasant. There's a lot of dew on the grass. So I imagine that this lion, and hopefully lions, hopefully the females and the cub are out, are going to be in the open, probably actually in the same place that we saw them roaring at the start of this episode. That is their number one spot, but we're almost there. And actually seeing tracks for a single male walking down the road, so I don't think he will be with the others. And here he is on Jackal's Flame, right in the thickest grass and wettest grass. Anyway, I don't think I need to introduce who this is, the limping male. Interestingly, he has gone and lay at exactly the same bush that we started this episode out with the other two Naru males in the rain. That little quarry over there. So, creatures of habit much, but it would be great if he roars to have him roaring now rather than in the wind. Actually been gone for a couple of days. We had him on his own on Tortillas Plains 2 evenings ago. Roaring, he was getting a response from his brothers, but he wasn't making any moves to go to the east. In fact, his tracks went to the north that day. Yesterday had his tracks around Mashatin Dam, and he's made his way back here now. But he's limp and all, he's still a beautiful and ever impressive male, growing into that anyway. Still a year or two away from being in their prime, but getting bigger by the month. Beautiful dawn chorus with the grey-headed bushrikes, the hornbills, Birchall's starlings, Birchall's cuckoo, whole host of birds making a noise, welcoming us to a new day, and a sunny day for a change. Sound of Africa. Always actually makes me feel better when even the lions can't find their own pride mates. Don't feel so bad for it now, or for my lack of inadequacy to find them. But no responses yet. This limping male has been on his own for probably 4 or 5 days now, but when we caught up with him 2-3 days ago, he was looking very well fed, still panting quite heavily, so must have had a recent meal. And when he was first located on his own, you could hear him calling close to camp, and for 2 days afterwards there were a bunch of vultures. We actually found Tumbela coming quite hastily out of the same block that we found him, but someone else found him resting in later that day. So I don't know whether he maybe stole a kill from her and that drew in the vultures, because it's unlikely that the vultures would have been drawn in by a leopard kill. But yeah, for 2 days, even after he had left, the vultures were still there. So maybe there was something else going on, but we couldn't find any sign of any predators. But yeah, he's still sitting very proudly there, waiting for him to give us one more roar with this beautiful backlight. If not, we'll carry on, because I think we've had quite a lot of roaring lions in this episode already. So this male lion's made up our mind for us. He's going to lie in the shade. My shot that I was waiting for of him roaring didn't come to fruition, but such is the nature of sofa safaris. But let's carry on, see if there's some more that we can add to this episode. Now, one of our species that's been in surprisingly short supply of late, a lone giraffe. Well, I guess not alone, it's got some impala company. But they haven't been overly abundant, at least not out in the east. A few more in the western parts of our concession, but out in the east, which is normally their stronghold, they seem to have been giving this area a bit of a break. Alrighty, well, I think that is about it for this episode. It's taken quite a while to film from first episode to now, but with the gap for weather and a break for guests, and it started and ended with the same animals doing the same thing in exactly the same spot. That's the bush for you. But I hope that you have enjoyed this episode, catching up with the Naru males, which has been great, and a few other little tidbits in there. But we will be back again same time next week. So until then, stay safe and keep well, and have a great week. From everyone here at Tanda Tula Safari Camp, until next time, cheerio.